Bitcoin started as a niche project, dismissed by many as a passing fad. But today it's no longer a joke. It's a force to be reckoned with. What if I told you that Bitcoin could reach $1 million per coin? You might think that's impossible, but by the end of this video, you'll see why it's not only possible, but inevitable. As countries around the world grapple with inflation, debt crises, and the instability of fiat currencies,
The economy is perilously close to falling into recession.
Bitcoin is emerging as a beacon of hope. But what if I told you it could soon become more than just a digital asset? Imagine Bitcoin as the strategic reserve for entire nations, a new kind of gold standard. In this video, we'll explore how Bitcoin could become the strategic reserve for countries around the world.
I want to start with you on that point of a strategic reserve. What would this really do, and what does it mean for Bitcoin at the end of the day? Can this be something that actually sees the light of day in America?
Pushing its value to unprecedented heights.
Bitcoin's one of these weird assets where 80% of all holders just hoard it. Like you and I, we just don't do anything with it, we just hold it. And so there's really only 20% that's available for trading.
This new proposed legislation is a strategic Bitcoin reserve for the United States.
Stay with me, because the reasons might surprise you. To understand how Bitcoin could reach $1 million, we need to look back in history.
The origins of the gold standard.
For centuries, gold was the bedrock of global finance.
Libya's central bank holds close to 144 metric tons of gold. That's worth roughly $6.5 billion. And even though the gold is held by Libya's central bank, economists we spoke with say it's not independent of Muammar Gaddafi. Scott Hoard, an international commercial attorney, says the gold could prove to be a key asset for Gaddafi.
Countries held it as a reserve to back their currencies. But in the 20th century, we moved away from gold, relying instead on fiat money, money that governments can print at will. But this system has cracks. The more money governments print, the less it's worth.
Well, let's take a closer look now at the situation in Venezuela. That's with our Focus report. Venezuela, of course, a country where prices double every few weeks and a monthly salary isn't enough to buy meat for one family meal. That's why the government has knocked those 5 zeros off the refurbished bolivar in a desperate attempt to control hyperinflation.
Just like you can't judge a book by its cover, you can't calculate the value of Venezuela's currency by the number of zeros that are added or subtracted. As of October 1st, this 100 Bolivar note will be the highest denomination, equivalent to today's 100 million Bolivar note. That means 6 zeros will be removed from a currency that has been so devalued by hyperinflation that it's become practically worthless.
This is only for the bus fare. The bolivars now are only useful for public transport, nothing else. Everything else is paid with US dollars.
When fiat currencies collapse under the weight of their own debt, what's left? Nations are beginning to see the appeal of Bitcoin.
And crypto-adjacent names like Coinbase and MicroStrategy are also attempting comebacks here. Joining us now to discuss is Michael Saylor, co-founder and chairman of MicroStrategy. Michael, it's great to speak with you. Thanks for being back.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So we did see this mini crash in Bitcoin yesterday. It's traded as a risk-on asset, considered a proxy for liquidity in the markets. At least one technician I've spoken to in the last 24 hours said we're really range-bound here, up to 61,000. What's the next catalyst? What breaks it out?
A digital, decentralized, and deflationary asset that no government can control. Imagine a world where countries hold Bitcoin as a strategic reserve to protect against the devaluation of their currencies.
Zimbabweans of all walks of life are battling to keep up with soaring prices driven by a depreciating local currency. The Zimbabwe dollar has shed more than 50% of its value against the US dollar in June.
You can walk into a shop today and find a bag of sugar going for 5,000 Zimbabwe dollars. Tomorrow it will be 25,000. So you can't plan for anything because the situation is so unpredictable.
But how could this happen? It starts with one country. Imagine a small nation with a struggling economy deciding to hedge its bets by investing in Bitcoin. They start small, but as Bitcoin's value rises, so does their reserve.
A couple of things are happening with Bitcoin.
that could be setting us up for a very interesting fall. Things that are also happening with the other giant out there is Ethereum, also key indicators pointing to a new direction. So
Thomas Jefferson purchased the Louisiana Territory for $15 million in 1803 and nearly double the size of the United States. Seward paid $7 million for Alaska. It's got $1 trillion of oil underneath it. Everybody's going to be doing business in cyberspace. Bitcoin is scarce, desirable digital property. It's a great idea to trade a little bit of currency or paper for some place that billions of people are going to want to be in 100 years. So yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Other nations notice and follow suit. A domino effect begins with countries around the world scrambling to acquire Bitcoin before it's too late. As demand for Bitcoin grows, so does its value. Every new country that adds Bitcoin to its reserves drives the price higher. But here's the kicker. Unlike gold, Bitcoin is finite. There's only 21 million coins that will ever exist.
What is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is the world's first cryptocurrency, and it works because of the world's first public blockchain network. What does Bitcoin do? It's simple. It lets you send and receive value to and from anyone in the world using nothing more than a computer and an internet connection. Now, why is it revolutionary? Because unlike every other tool for sending money over the internet, it works without the need to trust a middleman. The lack of any corporation in between means that Bitcoin is the world's first public digital payments infrastructure. And by public, I simply mean available to all and not owned by any single
As countries
entity.
compete for a slice of the pie, the price skyrockets, pushing Bitcoin closer to that $1 million mark. But Bitcoin isn't just valuable because it's rare, it's also secure. The blockchain technology that underpins it is virtually unhackable. And unlike gold, Bitcoin can be transferred across the globe in minutes, making it an ideal asset for international trade and finance. Financial experts are starting to wake up to this reality.
My grandmother asked me, what the heck is this Bitcoin stuff anyway, right? And I said to her, do you remember when Visa cards first came out? You were used to paying with cash or with a check, and then a Visa came out. It was this weird payment system that you didn't understand. And she said, yeah, I remember that. I said, well, Bitcoin is just the next evolution of another payment system.
They're not just talking about Bitcoin as a speculative asset anymore. Some are beginning to see it as a necessary addition to any country's strategic reserves.
I want to start with you on that point of a strategic reserve. What would this really do, and what does it mean for Bitcoin at the end of the day? Can this be something that actually sees the light of day in America?
The writing is on the wall.
The United States will be the crypto capital of the planet and the Bitcoin superpower of the world, and we'll get it done. Crypto is going to define the future. I want to be mined, minted, and made in the USA. It's going to be. It's not going to be made anywhere else.
Now imagine what happens when a major global power, like the US or China, decides to adopt Bitcoin as a reserve currency. This move would send shockwaves through the global economy. Suddenly, Bitcoin isn't just an asset.
Bitcoin's not the best money on every margin. It's not yet accepted everywhere. It's not used often to quote prices, and it's not always a stable store of value. But it is working, and the mere fact that it works without trusted intermediaries is amazing. It's a computer science breakthrough, and it will be as significant for freedom, prosperity, and human flourishing as the birth of the internet.
It's a cornerstone of international finance. The race to $1 million per coin is no longer a dream. It's a reality waiting to unfold. As countries begin to adopt Bitcoin, the stakes couldn't be higher. We're on the brink of a financial revolution, one that could change the way we think about money forever.
Rising this week as expectations for a Trump victory in November boost hopes for a friendlier regulatory environment for crypto. The former president set to headline the industry's annual conference in Nashville next week, delivering the keynote at the event. Our next guest thinks Trump's endorsement of Bitcoin will give an even bigger boost for the space. Let's bring in Brian Corshane. He's the CEO and founder of crypto investing company DAIM.
The world will be divided into those who have Bitcoin and those who don't. And the consequences of being on the wrong side of this divide could be catastrophic.
So what are you anticipating will happen here?
Yeah, thanks for having me. And so about a month ago, Trump met with some of the Bitcoin miners, and we think he really got educated on the space. He got educated on how the inner workings happen, about blockchain, and how transactions are verified. And when he goes to speak at this conference at the end of next week, he is going to talk about helping out smooth regulations for crypto. There's been a lot of headwinds in the space. A lot of those came from Gary Gensler. There's been a lot of roadblocks.
So what happens next? Will Bitcoin become the world's most valuable asset, or will it be something else? The truth is, we're living in a time of great uncertainty and great opportunity. But one thing is clear, those who see the potential of Bitcoin today could be the ones who reap the rewards tomorrow.
It's going to be. It's not going to be made anywhere else. And if Bitcoin is going to the moon, as we say, it's going to the moon, I want America to be the nation that leads the way. And that's what's going to happen. I pledge to the Bitcoin community that the day I take the oath of office, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's anti-crypto crusade will be over. It will end. It'll be done. It'll be done.
Bitcoin at $1 million per coin might sound far-fetched, but so did Bitcoin at $60,000 just a few years ago. The future of finance is being written as we speak, and Bitcoin is at the center of the story. The question is, are you paying attention? Thank you for watching. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with others who might benefit. The journey to $1 million per Bitcoin is just beginning. Are you ready to be part of it? And before you go, here's something to ponder. What if Bitcoin hits $1 million and it's still considered undervalued?